Won't you come home? She moaned the whole night long. I'll do the cooking, honey. I'll pay the rent. I know I done you wrong. I remember that rainy
I was here this afternoon. I'm only back because they screwed up one of the pieces.
Fine-tooth comb.
Isn't this the last night?
Well, I know I'm to blame now. Ain't that a shame, Bill Bailey? Won't you please come home? There is a tavern in the town, and there my true love sits him down and drinks his wine midst laughter free, and never thinks of me. Farewell, for I must leave thee. Do not let this parting grieve thee, and remember that the best of friends must part, must part. Adieu, kind friends, adieu. Yes, adieu. I can no longer stay with you, boo boo. I'll hang my heart on a weeping willow tree, and may the world go well with thee. Oh, dig my grave both wide and deep, put tombstones at my head and feet, and on my chest carve a little turtle dove to signify I died of love. Fare thee well, for I must leave thee. Do not let this parting grieve thee, and remember that the best of friends must part, must part. Adieu, kind friends, adieu. Yes, adieu. I can no longer stay with you, boo. I'll hang my heart on a weeping willow tree, and may the world go well with thee. Oh, we're getting close. I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. Can't you hear the whistle blow? Rise up so early in the morn. Can't you hear the captain shouting? Dinah, blow your horn. Dinah, won't you blow? Oh, Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah, strumming on the old banjo, singing fee-fi, fiddly-I-o, fee-fi, fiddly-I-o, fee-fi, fiddly-I-o, strumming on the old banjo. Whew.
You just about done it, John.
Oh, give me a home where the buffaloes roam, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Home, home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy all day. Oh, let's see.
That's fine.
Another one.
Just don't stand up after you've sat. Just don't stand up after you've sat.
Oh, Dad. So then
Oh, what's
your dad
another one?
is going to have
There's
this.
100 of them, aren't there? I did Daisy.
So this might. Should we move?
There's another one I have. How much is that dog in the window? One with a waggly tail.
Can I let my dad?
How much is that dog in the window? I do hope that dog is for sale. I must take a trip to California and leave my poor sweetheart alone. If she had a dog, she won't be lonesome,
You're on somebody's
and the
camera case.
doggy will have a good home.
There we go.
How much is that dog in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that dog in the window? I do hope that dog is for sale. And now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our producer, Sonia Baker.
Singing. There's lots more singing to happen. Oh, everybody, welcome. Nice to see you all. Oh, more people come in. Hurry up, you're late. So first of all, I want to welcome you all to this very secret special garden. And a big thank you to Judy Hayes for letting us have this. A lot of you don't know Judy. She does so much. She's the president of the Galliano Club, and she does so much behind the scenes. And she allowed us to not only have this, but to use her house as well. Wow. Even she's got these wonderful guests right now over there, Richard and family. They actually made us seafood chowder as well. Woohoo! I also want to thank the CRD for giving us a grant so we can get this year going again and allowing us to come up with new ideas around the theatre. We have launched, and I hope you've seen it, launched the Galliano Players' first radio play called The Bogman. Has everybody heard it yet? Been online? Okay, there is brochures on the way out. Grab them. It's very easy. It's a very different play. Jack Gardner and Jen did it. Merritt directed them, and it's quite different, and if everybody likes it, we will do a lot more. There's a lot of hard work involved in that one. No, I don't have a lot of hard work with this lot back here. So here we have 4 short plays. They're all different. You've got your brochure. One's a monologue, another a script acting, a bit of slapstick, and a mystery play that was first performed in August in 1916 and is still popular today. We also have, right now, we've got a new member to Galliano that's joined the club. He's joining the island, and next weekend he's going to put on the 20th and 21st. It's going to be on the Galliano Midsummer's Night Dream. Now this is not in the hall, this is at the top of Winstanley Road.
I've got flyers right here.
Oh, hello Michael, this is Michael that's directing it all. And there's flyers also out there. Good. And there's so much other to say. Normally I don't talk much, but there we are. First of all, I want to thank the quilters, and you'll work that one out as we go along. And again, Buzz for doing all the tickets, program, advertising, posters, even a sign where to come to the play. So you realise he's not just the Galliano courier delivering all your goodies. He does lots of other stuff. And I must give a big thank you to our singer musician standing in for us at the last minute, John Coulter. Fantastic job. I just love it for this, in this atmosphere and everything. And very importantly, I would like to give a thank you to my long-suffering, isn't that what my, Stuart McLean says? Long-suffering partner in crime, Sylvia Jenkins. She won't come out yet. And especially a big cheer here to all the actors. You know, we've been rehearsing through the summer. It's been really hard, and with this extreme heat. But you know, they're such a dedicated bunch that it worked out well. And doing 4 plays, 4 different times rehearsal, it's been a challenge, but so much fun. And I also want to dedicate these plays to my good friend Janelle. In many ways, she was always there for me and managed to keep me going in the right direction. Now, sit back, enjoy your picnic, and enjoy the show. Thank you. Oh, I won't forget. I always forget this bit. So our first play is called Trifles. Enjoy. There she is.
Oh, that's better. Come up to the fire, ladies.
I'm not cold. Okay, Mr. Hale, before we start moving things about, can you explain to Mr. Henderson here exactly what you saw when you came by yesterday morning?
By the way, has anything been moved? Is everything just as you left it?
No, it's all the same. But when it dropped below 0 last night, I thought I'd better phone Frank and have him come by and light the stove for us this morning. Don't want anyone catching pneumonia with this big case on. Anyway, I told Frank not to touch anything but the stove, and you know Frank.
Somebody should have been left here yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday. Yesterday I had to send Frank down to the medical clinic to deal with a crazy man, and I had my hands full yesterday. Anyway, I knew that you could make it from Omaha by today, as long as I had gone through everything here myself.
Well, Mr. Hale, why don't you tell me what happened when you came here yesterday morning?
Well, Harry and I were heading into town with a load of potatoes. We came along the road from my place, and when we got here, I said, I'm going to go in and see if I can't talk John Wright into getting a party telephone. I'd asked him about this once before, but he put me off. He said, people talk too much anyway, he says, and all he wants is a little bit of peace and quiet. Well, you know how much John liked to talk himself. I thought maybe if I went to the house and talked about it with his wife, but then as I said to Harry, I don't know as what his wife thought meant anything to John.
Okay, let's talk about that later, Mr. Hale. I would like to talk about that, but now just tell me what happened when you came to the house.
Well, I didn't see or hear a thing. I knocked on the door, and all was quiet inside. But I knew they must be up. It was past 8 o'clock. So I knocked again. And this time I thought I heard a little voice say, "Come in." I wasn't sure then. I'm not sure now. But I opened up this door over here, and I walked here. And there, in that rocking chair right there, sat Mrs. Wright.
And what was she doing?
She was rocking back and forth and back and forth, and she had her apron in her lap, and she was kind of pleating it.
And how did she look?
Well, she looked kind of odd.
What do you mean, odd?
Well, like she didn't know what she was going to do next, and kind of nervous.
How did she seem to feel about your coming?
Well, she didn't seem to mind much one way or the other. She wasn't paying much attention. I said, "How do, Mrs. Wright? Cold out, ain't it?" And she said, "'Tis it," and just sat there, rocking back and forth and pleating her apron. Well, I was surprised. She didn't ask me to come in and by the stove or to sit down. She just sat there, not even looking at me. I said I came to see John Wright, and she laughed. Well, I guess it's a sort of a laugh. Well, I thought of Harry waiting outside with the team, and I said kind of sharp. I said, "Can't I see John?" And she said, "No," in kind of a dull voice. And I said, "Why?" I said, "Ain't he home?" I said. She said, "Yes, he's home." Well, I said, "Well, why can't I see him?" I said, running out of patience. She said, "'Cause he's dead." "Dead?" says I. She just nodded her head and rocking back and forth and not looking too concerned at all. I said, Why? I said, well, where is he? I said, not knowing quite what else to say. And she just pointed upstairs like this. Well, I got up thinking I'd go upstairs, and I just moved over here a bit, and then I stopped and I said, well, what did he die of? And she said, he died of a rope around his neck. Well, I went out and got Harry. I thought I might need a little bit of help. And we went upstairs, and there he was, lying. Ugh.
Yeah, I think I'd like to go into that upstairs, Mr. Hale, where you can point things out to me. For now, just go on with the rest of the story.
Well, my first thought was to get that rope off of his neck, because it just looked... Ugh. But Harry walked right up to him and said, no, he's dead all right. We better not touch a thing. So we went back downstairs, and she was still sitting there the same way as she was before. I said, have anybody been notified? And she said, no, not seeming the least bit concerned. Who did this, Mrs. Wright? Said Harry in a real business-like manner. She said, I don't know. You don't know? Says Harry. I don't know, she says. Weren't you sleeping in the same bed with him, says Harry. She says, yes, but I was on the inside. Someone came in and put a rope around his neck and strangled him, and you didn't wake up, said Harry. I didn't wake up, she said. Well, she could see we found this kind of hard to believe, because a moment later she said, I'll sleep sound. Well, sorry?
Harry was going to ask.
Oh yeah, Harry was going to ask more questions, but I said, nope, we better let her tell her story first to the sheriff or the coroner. So Harry went down the road as fast as he could to the Rivers place where there's a telephone.
And what did Mrs. Wright do when she knew you'd sent for the coroner?
Well, she moved from that chair there over to this chair over here, and she just sat down and folded her hands together and looked down at the floor. I thought I'd better make a little conversation, so I said, I came to see if John would be interested in getting in on a party telephone. And she started laughing, and then she stopped, looking at me scared. Well, maybe it wasn't scared. I wouldn't like to say so. But anyhow, soon Harry came back, and then Dr. Lloyd came, and then you, Mr. Peters. And I think that's everything I know that you don't.
Well, I'd like to start upstairs, and then we'll go out to the barn and have a look around there. You're sure there was nothing here of any importance? Nothing that would point to any kind of motive?
No, just some kitchen stuff.
Oh, here's a nice mess.
Oh, it's her fruit. It did freeze. She worried about that when it turned so cold. She said the fire would go out and her jars would break.
Can you beat the ladies? Hell for murder, and they're worried about her preserves.
Well, she might have a lot more to worry about than her preserves by the time we're finished.
Well, women are good about worrying about trifles.
Yes, but for all their worries, where would we be without the ladies, huh? Oh, dirty towels. Not much of a housekeeper, would you say, ladies?
Well, there's a great deal of work to be done around a farm.
Oh, to be sure. But I know of some Dixon County farmhouses that don't have such towels.
Well, those towels get dirty awful quick, and men's hands aren't always as clean as they might be.
Oh, very loyal to your sex, I see. But you and Mrs. Wright were neighbors. I suppose you were friends, too.
Yes, I haven't seen her much of late years. I haven't been in this house for over a year.
Why's that? You didn't like her?
Oh, I liked her well enough, but a farmer's wife has her hands full, Mr. Henderson, and...
And?
Oh, this was never a very cheerful place.
No, it's not very cheerful. I wouldn't say she had the homemaking instinct.
Well, I don't think John Wright had either.
You mean they didn't get along very well?
No, I didn't mean anything. But the place wouldn't be any cheerfuler with John Wright's being in it.
I'd like to talk more about that later. Now I'm going to go upstairs and get the lay of things up there.
Now, I suppose anything Miss Peters does will be okay. She was to take in some clothes, some personal things. We were in such a hurry yesterday.
Yes, but I would like to see what you're taking in, Mrs. Peters. And keep an eye out for anything that might be useful to us.
Yes, Mr. Henderson.
Boy, I'd hate to have men coming into my kitchen snooping around and criticizing.
Well, Mrs. Hale, it's no more than their duty.
Well, their duty, yes. But when that deputy sheriff came in to light the fire this morning, he must have wiped his hands on this. Wish I'd thought of that earlier. But you know, I think it's pretty mean of them, talking about her and criticizing her for not having things slicked up when she had to come away in such a hurry.
She had bread set.
Oh, and her fruits. They got all smashed up. I wonder if there's anything left. Well, here's some, Mrs. Peters. Oh, and it's cherries, too. I think
Okay.
I think this is the only one.
Well,
Oh,
Mrs.
she'll
Hale,
be awful sad after all the hard work she did canning these in the hot weather. I remember the afternoon I put up my cherries last summer.
I better get those things from the front room closet. You coming with me, Mrs. Hale? You can help me carry them. My, it's cold in there.
You know, Wright was close. I think maybe that's why she kept to herself. You know, she didn't even belong to the Ladies' Aid. Maybe she felt she couldn't do her part. You don't feel joyful when you are feeling shabby. Oh, she used to wear such nice things and be so lively when she was Minnie Foster, one of the town girls singing in the choir. Oh, that was 30 years ago. Was that all you had to take in, Mrs. Peters?
Well, she said she wanted an apron. It's a funny thing to want when you're in jail. You're not going to get dirty, goodness knows. But I guess it was just to make her feel a bit more natural. She said it was over on her rocking chair here. And her little shawl was to take that too.
Mrs. Peters,
Yes, Mrs. Hale?
do you think she did it?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't think she did. Wanting her apron and her little shawl and worrying about her fruits.
Mr. Peter said on the way that things look really bad for her, and Mr. Henderson was sarcastic in his speech, and he said he's going to make fun of her because she said she didn't wake up.
Well, I don't think John Wright woke up either when they slipped the rope under his neck.
No, it was strange. It must have been done awful crafty and still, killing a man like that, rigging it all up.
That's what Mr. Hale said, and there was a gun in the house. He said that's what he can't understand.
Well, what Mr. Henderson said on the way out here is what they need in this case is a motive, anger or strong feelings.
I don't see any signs of anger around. I wonder how they're doing upstairs. I hope she had it tidied up more. But you know, I still think it's sneaky of them, locking her up in town and then coming out here and trying to have her own house turn against her.
Well, Mrs. Hale, the law is the law.
Well, suppose it is. Better loosen up your things, Mrs. Hale. You won't feel it when you go out.
Oh, look. She was piecing a quilt.
Oh, and it's the log log cabin pattern. Pretty, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it.
They wonder if she was going to quilt it or just knot it.
Oh, French fire didn't do much good up there, did it? Oh, well, let's go out to the barn and get that cleared up.
I don't think there's anything so strange about us taking up our time with little things while they're trying to find evidence. There's certainly nothing to laugh about.
Well, you know that they have a lot of important things on their minds, Mrs. Hale.
Look at this, Mrs. Peters. This is the one she was working on.
Right.
And look at the stitching. The others were nice and neat, and this is all over the place, as though she didn't know what it was about.
Mrs. Hale, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm just taking out a stitch or two that's not so good.
We oughtn't to touch things.
Well, let me just finish off this end. Mrs. Peters?
Yes, Mrs. Hale?
What do you think she was so unhappy about?
Well, I don't think that she was unhappy or nervous. I so awfully messy when I'm just tired. You know, I should get this stuff packed up. Where do you think I might find a piece of paper and some string?
Oh, in that cupboard, maybe.
Okay. Oh, look, it's a bird cage. Do you think she had a bird?
I don't know whether she did or not. I haven't been around for so long. But there was a man here last summer selling canaries real cheap. Maybe she got one. I don't know. But she used to sing real pretty herself.
Well, it's funny. It's a funny kind of place to have a bird, but she must have had one because she's got a cage. What do you think happened to it?
Oh, I suppose the cat got it.
No, she didn't have a cat, and she had that feeling that some people have about cats. She didn't like them. She was scared of them. My cat got into her room, and she got awfully upset and made me take it out.
Oh, my sister Bessie was like that. Strange, ain't it?
But look at this door. It's broke. The hinge is coming apart.
Oh, it looks as though somebody was really rough with it.
Why, yes.
I wish if they were going to find evidence, they'd be about it. I don't like this place.
Well, I'm awfully glad you came with me, Mrs. Hale. It would have been really lonesome sitting here by myself.
Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? But you know what I wish, Mrs. Peters? I wish that I'd come over to see her sometime. I really do. I really wish I had, and
Well, you mustn't feel so bad because you were busy with your house and your family.
I could have come. I didn't come because it weren't cheerful. That's why I ought to have come. I've never liked this place, maybe because it's in a valley and you can't see the road. I don't know. But it's lonesome, and always was.
Well, you mustn't reproach yourself, Mrs. Hale. Sometimes we don't know what goes on with folks until something comes up.
Not having children, it makes for less work. But oh, it makes it very quiet in the house. And with John off at work and no company when he did come home. Did you know John Wright?
Not to know him, but I saw him in town. They said he was a good man.
Good, yes. He didn't drink. And he kept his word as good as most, I guess. And he paid his debts. But oh, he was a hard man, Mrs. Peters. Just to pass the time of day with him was like a raw wind that gets to your bone. You know, I think she would have wanted a bird. I wonder what went with it.
I don't know unless it got sick and died.
You weren't raised around here, were you?
No.
You didn't know her.
Not until they brought her in yesterday.
Well, she, come to think of it, was something like a bird herself. Sweet and pretty and kind of timid and fluttery. How she did change. If I was you, Mrs. Peters, why don't you take the quilt into her? It might help her make her mind.
Well, that's such a nice idea, Mrs. Hale. Well, what do you think I should take? Do you think that her scissors and things would be in here?
See? Oh, well, here's look at this pretty box. It's like something what somebody would give you. Maybe her scissors are in here.
Maybe.
Mrs. Peters, like there's something wrapped up in this piece of silk.
Well, that's not her scissors.
Why, it's
the bird.
and look at its neck. It's its neck. It's all the other side too.
Somebody's wrung its neck.
Well, ladies, did you decide if she was going to quilt it or knot it?
We think she was going to knot it.
Very interesting. Oh, has the bird flown?
We think the cat got it.
There was a cat?
Well, not anymore. They're superstitious and they leave.
Well, no sign of anyone coming in from the outside. Their own rope. Oh, let's go upstairs again and go over it piece by piece. It would have to be somebody who knew exactly.
I think she really liked that bird. She was going to bury it in that pretty box.
When I was a girl, my kitten, there was this boy with a hatchet, and before my eyes and before I could get there and they couldn't hold me back, I would have hurt him.
You know, I wonder what it seems like not having children. No, Wright would not have wanted a bird. a thing that sang. She used to sing, and he killed that too.
But we don't know who killed the bird.
Oh, I knew John Wright.
It was an awful thing that happened in this house that night, Mrs. Hale. Killing a man like that while he slept, slipping a rope around his neck and choking the life out of him.
His neck, choking the life out of him. You know, if there had been days and days of nothing, and over the years, then to have a bird that would sing to you, it would be awful still after that bird was still.
I know what stillness was. When we were homesteading in the Dakotas, and my first baby died, him not 2 years old, and me with nothing but...
How soon are they going to be through looking for evidence?
We mustn't take on, Mrs. Hale.
No, we shouldn't, but you know, I wish you had known Minnie Foster when she wore a white dress with blue ribbons and stood up and sang in the choir. Oh, I should have come over to visit her. I really should have. That was bad. That was still. That's a crime, and who's going to punish that?
We mustn't take on.
You know, I should have expected that she needed help. I know how it is for women. You know, it's strange, Mrs. Peters. We live close together, and yet we live far apart. We all go through the same things, but we go through the things differently. You know, if I was you, I would not tell her that her fruits are gone. Tell her they ain't. Tell her they're all right. Take this in to prove it to her. She may never know that they was broke.
It's a good thing that the men can't hear us. Wouldn't they just laugh? Us getting all stirred up over something as silly as a dead canary, thinking that it has something to do with... Wouldn't they just laugh?
Maybe they would. Maybe they wouldn't.
No, Peters, it's all perfectly clear. Except for a reason for doing it. You know, juries with women. If only there was something definite, something we could show or tell a story about. Just one thing that would connect with this strange way of doing it. Where's Hale? He was supposed to bring the team around.
Oh, I brought the team around. Oh, it's cold out there.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to stay here a little while by myself. You can send Frank for me, right? I'm just not convinced we can't do better.
Do you want to check and see what Mrs. Peters is going to take in?
Oh, yeah. Oh, dear, no, those are all very harmless things the ladies have picked out. Besides, Mrs. Peters doesn't need supervising. A sheriff's wife is married to the law. Do you ever think of it that way, Mrs. Peters?
Not quite that way.
Married to the law. Can you come out here a minute? I want to show you these windows, George.
Windows.
Mr. Hill, we'll be right there.
Well, Henry, if there's one thing we've learned today, it's that she wasn't going to quilt it. She was going to... What do you call it, ladies?
We call it not it.